Today on the Seacoast Sports Forum, we're going to catch up with a couple of special guests. Stay tuned. Joining us today on the Seacoast Sports Forum, two gentlemen that Sam and I have been working with for the past 5 years, and both broadcasters extraordinaire. We'll get into a lot of topics today. Bob Lipman and also Justin McIsaac, welcome aboard to the Seacoast Sports Forum.
Great to be with you today.
Hey, good to see you guys.
And the question we'll start off with is how you've been keeping up with what's going on here with this pandemic. What have you been doing? I know you're working still with the Jack Heath show up on WGIR, right, Justin?
Yeah, go ahead, Justin.
Actually keep a fairly regular schedule, so I'm still coming to work. I'm actually in my office right now as we tape this. My wife Renee is still going to work. As we tape this, is the last day of school for the kids in Rochester.
Oh wow!
So normal as possible, I guess.
What about you, Robert?
Yeah, I've been filling in, doing some news reporting. A lot of it, of course, related to the coronavirus. I'm partnered up with Great Eastern Radio, which I've been with for a long time, and doing newscasts for New Hampshire, Vermont, upstate New York, and on Nantucket, and that's been keeping me busy with no sportscasting.
I know that is bizarre. Guys like you, Jamie Staten, and all the sports guys have to kind of be multi-tool or multifaceted guys. But we miss being with you guys over at Wildcat Stadium. But that, I guess, is where we'll start it off. Have you heard anything more about what the UNH status for the football team this coming season yet?
I've heard nothing at all. We're all still just hoping that the news is good. I certainly have my doubts about the ability to bring fans back in as early as September. But Justin?
Well, I hear that they're planning on having students back in the fall, which I guess if you're looking for clues, that might be a good sign for football. But otherwise, I haven't heard anything. And I've been asking people, I'm like, what do you hear? You hear anything? What's going on? Like anytime there's a college football this or that, I have a Google alert set up. So because like everybody, I want everybody to be safe, but I also want to know, I love broadcasting the games for UNH so much. I want to know if we're doing football in whatever form that might be.
Hello to Bob and Justin. I guess the question that I would want to ask you fellas would be any updates on UNH players hooking up with NFL teams?
Well, we had Prince Smith Jr. signed as a non-drafted free agent with the Philadelphia Eagles, which was awesome to see. That's his hometown team, so he's pretty excited. I know Pop Lacey was hoping to get some looks. I don't know if he's gotten any looks just yet. But Prince Smith Jr. right now is the only one. There's the CFL too. You might see some Wildcats end up there. Trevor Knight was with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers last year. Actually got a Grey Cup ring out of that. So he's looking to latch on with somebody. But so far, just Prince.
Bob, I wanted to ask you. You're also associated with Southern New Hampshire University, so you kind of have a little bit of a contact with Manchester in that situation. Are colleges thinking about alternatives about playing sports without fans?
Sam, it's a great question, and I am an assistant SID, if you want to call it that, for Southern New Hampshire University, and I work with a couple of their sports teams. I was in on a conference call yesterday, a Zoom chat with all the SIDs from around the league and with our league commissioner. And Sam, they have laid out 6 different scenarios right now that it's all a working document, from being able to open up and fully play our schedule. That seems to be the least likely scenario in my opinion, because there are some schools that are already talking about the fact that they can't do overnight trips. Well, that's going to throw a monkey wrench into the schedule. What happens if the kids don't come back to school until Labor Day? Well, then you're going to need your practice sessions, which would mean sports are going to need to be shifted later. Maybe you start the fall sports in September. That carries a little bit later. Basketball shortened up, and hockey, and maybe baseball and softball are a little bit shorter. What happens if some teams want to play and some teams don't want to play? Can you merge a couple of leagues together in order to put a schedule in? So that's what's going on at conferences all around the country. It's a really, really difficult issue. And again, the best I think that people are thinking is that we'll have some idea of sports in July.
Now, Bob and Justin are the radio voices of the UNH Wildcat football team. But Bob, you've been affiliated with the Fisher Cats now since their inception. It must be hard because this is baseball season for you, and withdrawal symptoms. I mean, what have you heard on that line?
Without question, and just like Justin may not do a whole lot of baseball broadcasting, but we're baseball fans. And the summer is one day you have a game, next day you have a game. At this time of year, Sherm, I'd probably be doing 10 to 15 Fisher Cat games a month. There's many of them in Manchester, a couple of them on the road. So yeah, I've been doing it. I've been a baseball broadcaster starting in the New England Collegiate League back in the late 90s. And so it's been over 20 years of summers with baseball, and I miss it a lot. And I miss being at the ballpark and with our friends. And I don't know what I can say in terms of a minor league baseball season this year, but we may get some Major League Baseball before all said and done.
I hope so.
I wanted to ask Justin. Justin, you and I have done a lot of high school sports in our lifetimes, and I'm sure you can remember games when there were so few people in the stands that they could actually hear your play-by-play when you're doing it and making comments on that.
Yeah, that's and sometimes with high school games, there's no booth. You got to set up right behind the plate. So if you're critical of the umpire's strike zone, they might let you know about it in between innings. So
or also with basketball, I mean, you're right behind the bench sometimes, and the players turn around and give you comments on your play-by-play.
Yeah, especially if you go over the top like I tend to do now and then, as Bob can attest.
Oh no, really? over the top, you?
I know, hard to believe, right? Yeah. But yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say it's I do a lot of high school spring sports and missing and a lot of college spring sports. So missing softball and baseball for high school is it's really been a bummer. And last year was the first year I started doing lacrosse games for Dartmouth and a few other places. So that's I'd finally gotten the hang of that. And unfortunately, those athletes had their seasons kind of canceled by this whole pandemic. So it's been an adjustment. I've had a lot more free. I'm sure, Bob, you're probably the same way. I sometimes I look around like, what do I do with all this free time? I don't know what I'm doing.
Now
we can play golf. We can play golf now.
That's true.
Which we couldn't do until this past Monday.
Well, even when I can play golf, I can't play golf very well. You know that.
Still 5 hours of quality time together.
Who shanks the most? I mean, it must be Justin.
I'm terrible. Bob's
It depends on who's had more beer.
So me.
Now, Justin, you have your own network, MOSN. Explain that to the viewers. And again, you said because of what's happened, it's kind of cut your broadcast schedule down. But just explain what goes on with the MOSN.
Yeah, so it's I started that back in late 2015, early 2016 when I got laid off from a radio station. It's basically an online radio station for high school stuff. And occasionally, I think I've done Great Bay Community College basketball in there too, so sometimes some junior college stuff. But just a way to broadcast stuff if you don't have a radio station.
And it's interesting. You can just take the limited gear you have to use and do a broadcast. In the old days, Sam remembers, and Sam had to lug around the heavy equipment and recorders and et cetera. It's all a computer. Yeah, look at those muscles. Look at the guns on him. Yeah. Nowadays, it's all just miniaturized. It's fantastic. And so you anticipate what you'll be doing in the fall other than the UNH Wildcats? Have you got anything lined up or?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? It's going to be the NHIAA is going to kind of do what the governor decides with schools. So if the kids aren't physically back in school, and I think all scenarios are on the table. On Jack Heath's show, which I produced, we talked with Frank Edelblue, the education commissioner, and he said he's like, if you think of a scenario, and we've kind of gamed it out from kids going a couple days a week to school, and then going in shifts almost, to starting like mid-October or in November, to doing the distance learning again until there's a vaccine or a treatment. So I mean, I guess I won't know till I know is the short way of saying that,
And Sam, let me jump in because
Sure.
I started in high school back, doing high school games, I guess before Justin was born.
We crossed paths in the 80s, Bob.
No, I don't doubt that at all. But for those who are tuning in, here's the way it used to work. I would decide that we were going to do a baseball broadcast between Hanover and Lebanon. I was living in the Upper Valley at the time. We had to call the telephone company. They had to come and put a telephone line
Right.
somewhere near the field that you hope would be working,
Right.
and you would find it. You would then hook that up to your equipment and dial back to the radio station. And assuming that there was no rain, which could have thrown a real big clunker into things, you broadcast the game over a telephone line.
There's nothing more of a relief than seeing that little telephone box in the press box, because then
No question.
you can get on the air.
Sam, I had a broadcast early on in my career, which was Hartford High School, Vermont at Burlington. And we got to Burlington, and they put the telephone line in the gym, which did not help us for the football game. And there was pretty much no way that you were going to run that, 1,700 feet all the way out to the football field. Lots of good stories like that early on. Of course, now with the internet, we're able to do so much more in terms of being able to set up last minute, and still lots of fun memories from back in the days.
Old time radio story. Every radio station loves to have a telephone number associated with their call letters. And I was working in Augusta, Maine, and we were scheduled to do a football game from Gardner High School. And there was a lady who was in charge of all those telephone lines you were speaking about, Bob. Her name was Agnes. She was in charge of all the phone lines for sporting events or whatever, for special events for the state of Maine. So she calls me up and says, yep, it's all in. Everything's ready to go. So the broadcaster gets their day of game, and of course, they didn't mark it. And there's all multiple jack boxes, and he's trying to figure out where it goes where. And again, it's a lot more complicated in those days than it is now. And so anyway, we didn't get the broadcast on. So my boss, the general manager, was just, fumes, sparks coming out of his everywhere. And he was mad. The Monday morning, I knew we were going to pay for this. He says, the only way we're going to take and get anything out of this is if you can get that telephone number away from the phone company. And that was our negotiating point. So we didn't get any money back from the phone company, but we got our call letters as a part of the phone number. And that was, he was happy after that, but the smoke and fumes were coming out of his head that day. So what happened? And the guy, the poor broadcaster, the poor sportscaster, he did everything he possibly could. He literally was hanging on a telephone pole trying to figure out if he could just hot wire into it. But yeah, old time radio stories. We have plenty of those. We go back a ways, don't we, guys?
Oh, a few years.
Yes.
Bob, I wanted to ask you, I asked the same question of Mike Murphy, the sports information director over at UNH. How are the seniors, the potential recruits, how are you keeping contact with those folks that are coming to Southern New Hampshire University?
The coaches still have the contact. You mean of the incomings?
Yes, the freshmen.
Yeah, and you just explain the situation that the best that you can. That it's it's in our plans to play athletics. There's really no thought process to get away from that. And Southern New Hampshire University, although you may have seen, has transitioned even more into the online learning experience. They are still bringing students to the Manchester campus, and those students still would have all of the same options, including playing sports.
Justin, over on the high school side, you cover a lot of the high school players. This has just got to be gut-wrenching for the seniors who lost their spring season and the juniors wondering what's going to happen in the fall.
Sure, and for a lot of the winter kids too, who I live in Rochester, which I'm not shy about broadcasting about. The Spalding girls are going to play in their first ever girls basketball championship game against Lebanon, and it didn't happen because that was right when things were kind of ramping up with shutdowns. So I know that was heartbreaking for those kids, and for a lot of for the spring folks. One of the moms from the baseball team just sent me a video. They did a tribute video to the on the baseball team who didn't get to play a season this year for Spalding, and it's just it breaks your heart for those kids. I mean, kids have kind of taken it as better than I would have, I think, as far as the athletes go, dealing with the situation, but it's your heart just shatters for them.
Justin, Sherm's got a question for you. Go ahead, Sherm.
Well,
Ask it.
Again, as far as I'm concerned, the basketball season obviously got cut short, and I think we were all anticipating a final that would have featured Exeter versus Portsmouth, but they were named co-champions by the NHIAA. What's your take on that, my friend?
So, in a case where you had, for example, like Division IV boys or Division II girls, where you had two teams that were in the finals, and the finals didn't get to be played. They made co-champions there. I'm fine with that. I don't have any issue. It is what it is. When you had 8 teams or 4 teams, everybody's a co-champion. Some of the Portsmouth kids and coaches, and I think some of the Exeter ones too, were like, "This, we don't count this as a championship." How do you? Because Exeter and Portsmouth definitely would have been the favorites to get there. But we've all seen enough wacky things happen in high school basketball and March and hockey and whatever, so that you never know. Unfortunately, sure, you saw that one year when Dover got by Exeter in the semifinals. So, so I mean, you never know.
Exactly. It was kind of unfulfilling to see. I mean, we beat Portsmouth head to head, and I know it'll be an unanswered question forever unless we can do some sort of a computer simulation. And we did have a kid. Did you hear about this? A young guy up in Goffstown put together a simulation of the game between the Goffstown Grizzly girls versus the BG girls. Did you see that? Yeah, that was interesting. I said, gee, I wish we could do something like that with Exeter and Portsmouth and do like a charity thing. That would be kind of cool. Just a simulated game. You get the captains of the teams to be the guys holding the controllers. That would be so cool.
Goffstown didn't win, did they?
No, but I shouldn't spoil it. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, no, it was close. It was very close. It was very close. Actually, the kid that put it together, the young gentleman that put it together, he did a very, very nice job. I guess you have to build it from scratch. And the only bad thing was that the Xbox, I think it was on that, I think it was Xbox, wasn't it, Sam?
It was on a platform that he had to do some adjusting.
Yeah, and so the girls were actually guys with ponytails. but he had the background. I mean, he had the court, had the Grizzlies logo in the center court, and it was really cool. They put a lot of effort into it. And matter of fact, we've got a copy of it. We're going to be playing sometime in the near future here on the Sports Forum. What I wanted to ask you guys, if you've done all sorts of sports over the years, what was your very first crack at sportscasting? Bob, you want to start on that one?
Outside of college, I did college radio, and so my very first game was a women's basketball game at Vanderbilt, probably 1979. The college station was only allowed to do women's basketball and baseball, and so I got involved there. The very first day that I worked for my hometown Central New Jersey radio station, they sent me to, I think it was called the New Jersey North-South All-Star Football Game, like what we play now, our Chad game. And I did phone-in live reports from that game. We were, back in those days, we were news a lot. So even on a Saturday afternoon, would come for the sports time at quarter after the hour. I'd be phoned in, do a sports report, and give a live update for the football game. So I was kind of that was my very, very first assignment as a professional, where I made money for sports.
Now, how'd you cut your teeth, Justin?
So when I don't know if this counts, but back when I was a professional wrestler, I would occasionally sit in and do color commentary on some of the other wrestling matches.
That's cool.
The first legitimate sports broadcast I did was used to be able to go to community TV channels and do some of the games. So I went to Channel 12. This is when I was going to the prestigious Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I went to Channel 12 in Rochester, and I did a Spalding girls softball. I think they played Concord, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a 1-0 pitchers duel. The Concord pitcher struck out like 18 out of a possible 21 batters or something ridiculous like that. Yeah, and that was but the first paid gig I had was working at Clear Channel in Portsmouth. This was 2010, maybe. I got into radio and broadcasting a lot later than most folks did. I was 30 when I started, or a little over 30 when I started doing games. So we did all the Portsmouth girls and boys home games. So the first one was Portsmouth versus Sauhegan, and Mike Keeney, who's now an assistant coach for the Southern New Hampshire women, was the coach of the Sauhegan boys at the time. So I got to know Mike Keeney because our position was right next to his bench. And when he disagreed with a call, I said, "Oh, Coach Keeney doesn't like that." And he looked at me, he goes, "Make sure you tell him I vehemently disagree." Vehemently.
Now, you and Sam have some history together too. Sam, elaborate on that for us.
Well, back a ways, sometimes when you're looking for work, and, Justin, you used the word legitimate versus non-legitimate. I look at high school versus sports entertainment. Okay. I worked some wrestling matches for the local cable station in Portsmouth. And we were doing a weekly wrestling show with the likes of the Wolfman and Lobster Man and people like that. And it was quite a time. I worked with a fellow named Johnny Vegas, and we did some stuff. And then one match we had this young man on there who was just in shape or something like that, who was jumping around, and I got a chance to introduce him, and I do have that match on videotape, and it's quite and I'm waiting for the time to use it when I can do the best for me.
Well, it'll never be good for me because that was my second professional wrestling match.
Were you just in shape then?
I think I was called Just in Time or something.
Okay. Oh, yeah, yes, Just in Time. That's correct.
Yes. So that was my second professional match. And then my third match was later on in that series against Maverick Wild.
Oh, I was the big Maverick Wild fan.
Yep. Yeah. No, still talk to his real name's Scott. Still talking to this day. But yeah, your cohort, Fabulous Johnny Vegas,
right,
is now one of the guys that does PA announcing occasionally for the New Hampshire Fisher Cats. So it's all one circle, isn't it?
So, Bob,
you were much better as the heel, though, Justin.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to dislike, so I would agree with that. Yeah.
And Sam, you wanted to do a moment of silence for Howard Finkel, huh?
Oh, of course. We lost Howard Finkel a couple of weeks ago as the longtime WWE announcer. And next to Mean Gene Okerlund, he was certainly the best.
Oh, yeah. Well, Bob, have you got anything, Eddie Skeletons in your closet? You ever wear tights or anything like that?
No, there's no tights at all. But I can tell you, Johnny Vegas is quite a character in his own right, and is a huge fan of Justin McIsaac, his partner there. And we'd talk about that. When I was growing up in New Jersey, Channel 9 was WOR, and on Saturday night at, I guess it was probably 11:30, there was racing from Yonkers, which was harness racing recap, and then the wrestling would be on from midnight to 1 a.m. And who were that? Ernie Ladd, Andre the Giant, Bruno Sammartino. I stuck with the harness racing, not the wrestling. Sherm, I want to get you to tell me about one of your maybe some kind of odd sport you've been involved with.
Oh, wow.
In New Hampshire, and I've done a lot of sports over the years. Probably the one that you would be the most surprised was I was the alternate announcer at Hinsdale Greyhound Park for over a span of about 5 or 6 years. When the regular announcer would take a vacation, or if the regular announcer was sick, I would call the Greyhounds.
Wow.
Long live
I am so jealous. I mean, I'm jealous because I would go to Seabrook and I would just call the races myself.
Greyhound racing's a little easier than horse racing because it's pretty much just the numbers. But that was in the early part of my career. How about Sherm? Anything?
Well, I was going to say the PA announcing. I started that years ago on the high school level, and I started doing at UNH. Well, this will be the 5th season coming up, and over that time, I've been asked to fill in for different sports. And I did soccer this past year, and that was interesting. I was a newbie there, but I had some good coaching. Then I get a call just before New Year's to do the hockey, the UNH men's hockey games. And that was a learning curve for this kid, because as you guys are aware, you got a producer in the booth usually talking to you. You got to do this, you got to do that, commercials, da-da-da-da-da-da. And we do the same thing, Sam and I, over in the PA announcing booth over at Wildcat Stadium. And but down on the ice, it's a little different. The producer is way across. She's up in a crow's nest up on the other side of the arena, and we're down right on the ice. I'm there with the scorekeeper and the timekeeper, and it was a learning curve on that one. And that game is so fast paced. So I guess that was my that was probably my learning experience of my career so far. Would I do it again? Yeah, I'll give it a shot again. But those 2 days, those back-to-back games, I learned a lot about the game of hockey real fast.
One of the things I wanted to do today with Justin and Bob is just do a quick kind of around the horn on Major League sports. First question for both of you. NFL, Jarrett Stidham, fan or foe?
It's too early for me to render any kind of an opinion, because I'm certainly not going to grade anybody on what I've seen in preseason football games. I think it's an impossible task to try to step in and figure out what he's going to be able to do for this team. Clearly, if you don't give him more weapons than Brady had last year, the offense isn't going to look very good. So we'll see what kind of a game manager he is. I mean, the one thing that we've been ridiculously blessed with is a quarterback who had that uncanny knack of being able to finish off a game and not give the opponent a chance to win.
Justin?
Well, I guess we're going to find out. It seems like the Patriots like him. And, when he played against Alabama, who's almost an NFL caliber defense, he put up good numbers and played well. So I guess we'll see. Until Bill Belichick gives me a reason to doubt him, I'm not going to doubt him. So if they like him, I like him.
Okay, next up, Major League Baseball. Will Alex Cora return to the Red Sox?
I'll say yeah.
Tough one. What did you say, Justin?
I think yes. So there's one season without him, then he comes back. After everybody forgets about it. Well, doesn't completely forget, but after what would have been a suspension, unless they say he's still got to serve it, when he comes back to a team. But I think he will.
I don't know if it'll be the Red Sox, but he'll definitely be back in Major League Baseball. He's a good baseball guy. Wish that this all hadn't happened, but it did, and you can't go back.
Next up, NHL and NBA. Should they complete the regular season or just move on to the playoffs?
I know the NBA wants to complete the regular season because they got bags of money out there that come to them if each team does 70 games with their local cable channel. So I think they're going to try to if they can. But I think you have to have at least a few regular season games, if not the full regular season. You wouldn't want to have guys have 3 months off and then, okay, now it's the playoffs. So somewhat of a regular season, I think, will be necessary to finish off.
I think I favor putting everybody in a tournament and playing it out. And, I think you are going to need some games leading up to that. So maybe you play a couple of weeks of games and then you seed them and you play it out like an NCAA tournament. And even if it's it doesn't have to be 4 out of 7s, of course, but see how that all comes out.
And final question for me, for you two guys. They're replaying a lot of games on television, old games on television. What has been your favorite one to watch so far?
I'd have to say the just last weekend, the game I never get sick of is the first Patriots-Rams Super Bowl. Because it's Madden and Summerall, and I love those two together. And young Tom Brady and young Bill Belichick, and just things you forget about, like what was it, J.R. Redmond, who was so huge in that last drive.
Right.
I think he lost like 3 swing passes or something like that to keep the chains moving. That one I'll never get sick of. And I probably watched the Falcons one 15 times the 3 weeks after that happened, so I think I could give that one a rest. But the first Patriots-Rams.
That's the one of the famous John Madden line with 50 seconds left to go. I think the Patriots really should play for overtime right now.
To give him credit, though, he corrected himself. Once they got moving, he's like, I said they shouldn't have done this, and Tom Brady's giving me goosebumps. So.
Yeah, what is 04, Game 4, Yankees, Red Sox, American League Championship Series? I watched that whole game. That was terrific. Just the swings of going back and forth, and we'll see you tomorrow night. We'll see you later tonight, and moving on. What happened there?
Mm-hmm.
I have those. I haven't watched much of the Patriots because I have those 3 games to glory, or the DVD packs from all their Super Bowl wins, and whenever I feel like watching a game, I'll pop one in. Somewhere in my collection, before I was a Patriot fan, I was a Giant fan. Growing up in Central Jersey, and I was a Bill Parcells fan, and I have the Giants Bills Super Bowl. I'll put that in and watch it every now and then too.
Bob, what is your hometown newspaper?
In New Jersey?
No, right here. Are you in Concord?
The Concord Monitor.
Okay. Concord Monitor. Justin, you're in Rochester, Seacoast Online. Seacoast, you use Manchester Union Leader. What do you think of the sports page coverage during this time when they can't do any game reporting?
Tim O'Sullivan from the Concord Monitor has been working in some interesting features. They are pretty much down to 1 page of sports. And if there's not something local, there's, a couple of stories from around the sports world. There isn't a whole lot going on, Sam. So they're doing it the best they can. I really, really feel and Justin can relate to this as well. We know so many good people who are not working today in really, really tough spots. No one had ever envisioned a world without sports, and that they wouldn't have the opportunities to be able, to do the things that they've done. And hopefully they're able to put everything together here and get back to work. And I still subscribe to my local papers. I still support the Concord Monitor. I still support the Boston Globe Sports, which is forever, since I've been in New England, been, the premier sports coverage, and do my best to help them out any way I can.
Yeah, it's tough. Newspapers were up against it even before this. So many giant conglomerates are buying newspapers and just slashing the staff, which is, which is not good for anybody. And now with the pandemic, for the sports guys, like Bob said, they're doing the best they can. There's just there's not a whole lot to write about at this point. It's how many different this is canceled, that is canceled articles can you write?
I think for our Seacoast papers, Foster's and the Portsmouth Herald, they've done a nice job on highlighting some high school players who are going on to college and highlighting their senior seasons. For example, in Seacoast, in the Portsmouth Herald today, they had a really nice article. And Justin, I know you know Greg Cagliari, and at 82 years old, still officiating. And what a resume that gentleman has had, a educator, a sports official, a coach. Those type of human interest stories I've really enjoyed.
I know I've been talking to Roger Brown, one of our compatriots from the Manchester Union Leader, and I said to him, I said, gee, this is the time. People are available. Do a book about the Wildcats. Coach Mack, I mean, I'll buy it. I'll buy the first copy of it, and we'll see if something could come of that. I would love to see that happen. Speaking of the Wildcats, I want to get back to the booth. You two guys do a great job. The chemistry you guys have for the broadcast of the football team. I get to listen on when you guys are on the road. That's the only thing I'm jealous about. Sam and I do the home games, so we don't get to listen to you because we're busy. And then when you guys are on the road, well, you guys are on the road, and you've got some good traveling coming up too if the season gets off, right?
I think we're supposed to open up at Kansas. Go hang out with Les Miles.
Hey, Kansas, hey, corn as long as you
Yeah, look, UNH has provided us with so many great opportunities. Justin and I have already been to Florida, South Dakota, Arkansas, Alabama, and that's just in the last few years. I've had a trip to Fargo and to Bozeman.
You guys get to
South
Colorado.
Dakota, North Dakota, and Montana. I need to do that in the summertime because our trips are always when it's freezing cold out. But
Bob,
yeah,
is that the Fargo Dome?
it is.
What's it like in there?
It's a beautiful, 15,000, 16,000 arena, and they fill it up, and you throw in the music and the noise, and it's a terrific atmosphere. North Dakota State is the second most popular event in there. The most popular is they do a tri-state wrestling championship with Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota high school teams that come in, and that's an unbelievable draw to the Fargo area in that dome over a 3-4 day period.
Now you guys got a trip to Colorado too, right? You guys going down to Colorado?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A day early for that one because of the altitude, and we met an amazing street poet out there, Bob. I don't know if we can tell that story on TV, but
I don't know. I hope that she's still doing well. All right, I'll give you the layout here. It's 1:00 in the morning. We're going back to our hotel, and there was a woman on the street who said, "Give her, I don't know what it was, $10, and she will do an ad lib poem about your life right there." And there were takers in our group. And there is a video of it, and
gosh,
I told
Sherm's
you guys
sister
we
has
should have just
loved
gone
living
back
in
to the
Colorado.
I'd love to see that. Love to see that.
I was very enthusiastic about it. Not everybody was, but I was.
Well, what we do at the end of the show is we do what we call the 2-minute drill. And anything that's on your mind about sports, this is where we kind of just go around the horn. Sam, do you want to kick us off and let the two guys kind of figure out what they'd like to do?
Sure. The thing that I'm concerned about right now is the negotiations between Major League Baseball and the Players Association. They're talking about holding things up because 50-50 split on revenue is a salary cap and stuff like that. I think where the country is right now and the need to get baseball restarted, I think both sides have got to just come together on this and get this done. Justin,
2-minute drill.
Yeah, I'm just. I know everybody's itching to get back out there, and I would just tell everybody, just be patient. I'm itching to get out and call games, probably worse than anyone. The only one that wants me calling games worse than I do is probably my wife Renee. Get me out of the house.
Get out of the house, Justin.
I mean, we'll get there. Just gotta, just keep doing the right things. A little more pain here now. Staying indoors means, football and basketball come when the weather gets cold. So stick with it.
Bob?
Yeah, well, look, I can echo the same kind of sentiments as Justin. I want us to open up, and I want us to get going. but I want to make sure that we do it smart and we do it safe. And if we can put aside some of our differences here, moving forward, maybe we can all make sports a little bit better place. Justin and his good friend Dave Haley have done a lot of work here over some of the problems that have cropped up, especially at the high school level, with parents and with officials and with coaches. And I guess let's all just thank our coaches and everyone who's been involved with our young people and continue to give them the support that they need and they deserve. And let's all make sports fun again.
Amen. Amen. And my 2-minute drill, I just want to mention two folks that, well, because of the pandemic, decided to retire. One, I got the note about a week ago that my primary doctor is giving it up. He's going to retire because of what's going on. And the most upsetting one was my barber, Charlie the barber, Charlie Belmont from downtown Exeter, decided to hang him up. Just out of precautions, you know, he's at that age group like some of us are that, you know, you don't want to chance it. And Charlie, the barbershop is right on the corner of Swayze Parkway in downtown Exeter on Water Street, and it belonged to his dad years ago. So it's a generational thing for this kid, me, going back with that family and the 4 chairs they used to have, and now that was down to 2 at the end here. And Charlie was a fun guy to go in and talk sports with, and especially a basketball season. God, he loved basketball. He had been one of the Newmarket championship team years and years ago. And so I'll miss those chats with Charlie. I was kind of surprised when I saw the headline in the Seacoast online that he was going to hang up the Clippers. So now I'm in search of another good haircutter and somebody to listen sports with me. So Charlie, if you're out there, have a happy retirement, be safe, and thanks for all the good talk and all the good haircuts too. No, and you guys missed it. I had a beard the last time we did the show. I got rid of that. Oh yeah, I had a full beard. You'll have to go back and watch the last show. Yeah. It went from a Kenny Rogers tribute beard to more of a Gabby Hayes old coot beard. So the wife said it's got to go, and it went. The one other thing I was going to ask you guys, I want to try something here just for the future. We're going to maybe try adding some trivia or a trivia challenge or something to this broadcast. So I'm going to give you guys randomly. I'll start off with Sam. Just a quick question. See how you do. This is okay, Sam. What type of betting is used in horse racing?
Betting? B-E-D-D-I-N-G?
Betting.
Betting.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I mean, you can do straight betting, you can do exactas, you can do quinellas, you can do trifectas, you can do supervectas. If you want to do exotic wagering, in-place show, all types of things.
How about parimutuel? That's the overall, right?
You have to understand what parimutuel is.
Explain.
Parimutuel betting is betting between states. So that the odds are set by the total pool around the country and not just by the pool of the local racetrack.
Oh, all right.
Bob. That's all Bob talks about on the road is the ponies.
Really?
Well, we're gonna have to sit down when we have lunch at UNH and talk a little bit about that.
There you go. Well, and you know what? If chances are the next time I see you, they will not have run the Kentucky Derby yet.
Oh no!
We'll still have that opportunity.
Well, that horse that won the Arkansas Derby was quite a horse.
There were 2 Arkansas Derbies.
Right, but
there were both of them Baffert horses. Both of them looked pretty good.
Or something like that.
Yeah, and Nadal is the other one.
Right.
That won there. Charlton and Nadal.
Oh, I know, Sherm, you want to get it wrapped up, but we'll get going on that.
No, this is good horse talk. I love it.
You can go back to trivia now.
Bob, who was the first Major League Baseball player to have his number retired?
Babe Ruth.
Close.
Lou Gehrig.
Lou Gehrig. Yep. Yeah, Lou Gehrig. All right, here we go, Justin. This is, and be careful how you answer this, sir. I picked this one out specifically for you. What baseball equipment was first baseman Charlie Waite the first to wear?
I'm going to say that was the cup. Sure.
I knew you were going that route. I should say to use, not to wear, but a cup could do it come in there too. He was the first man to use a glove. All right.
Oh.
All right. Now, a jump up question. Anybody play horseshoes? Any of you guys?
Yeah.
All right. What is, or how many feet apart are the stakes in horseshoe pitching?
Feet?
Feet, yeah. How many
60,
feet of?
18?
Yeah, too short. One more guess. Justin?
60 is what I said. 60?
Oh, 60? 40. It was 40. You were close. And last one, this will be a jump ball. Maybe Bob will know it. He's got one of these. What is changed when you tack your yacht? What is changed when you tack your yacht?
You put the sails up.
Well, you're changing direction. Okay. I just wanted to try this today. Thank you, gentlemen, for being guinea pigs on this. Bob and Justin, again, hope to see you soon over at the stadium, at Wildcat Stadium. And maybe we'll be able to do this again in the near future. So if we hopefully we do it on the road at the stadium.
September 12th, is that what we're talking? September
That's
12th
it.
with Richmond. I believe
All right.
that's game 1 at home.
The
All right.
Spiders.
Let's put that on the
crossed.
calendar. Let's make that a date, and we'll break some bread together there before the game. And I guess that wraps it up for Bob Lipman, Justin McIsaac, Sam Bruno. I'm Sherm Chester. Join us again next time for the Seacoast Sports Forum.